But the mountain people had never paid too much attention to what went on in the big city. They had their own sets of problems. Sunday was no longer a day of worship and glorification of God. It was just a workday like any other. The churches were empty.
Their attitude towards God was a contradiction in terms when one considered where they lived. The majestic panorama of the mountain was such evidence of the splendor of God, his perfect artistry, his perfect love. As far as the eye could see were beautiful mountains, one more elegant than the other. They were broken by streams of fresh water running down to the valleys.
Sadly, though, many of the gifts of the Lord are either unappreciated or taken for granted. This beauty was wasted on the citizens of La Salette. Their attitude was, you can't feed your family landscapes.
Into this setting we bring two children, Maximin Girard, age 11, and Melanie Matou, age 15. They both came from the nearby town Corp. As small as Corp was, 1,300 inhabitants in 1846, the two had never met. The farms they worked at were near each other. Melanie and Maximin had met on Thursday, September the 17th, when Maximin arrived from Corp.
The following morning, Friday, September the 18th, the children went up the mountain together, but each went to a different slope. It was an uneventful day. But being young, they planned on having a beautiful, adventurous time the following day, Saturday, September the 19th. That's the way with young people. Each day is a new day, a new adventure.
And Maximum was, he was living really in Corps, which is the village you pass through, about 15 kilometers from here.
Very pretty, though.
Yeah, he had never really taken care of animals or all that, but one of the persons downstairs in one of these villages, his shepherd boy fell sick, ill. So he was a friend of Maximin's father. He asked his father if he could lend him Maximin for a few days. And that's how Maximin came to Les Arbres, which is the village where Melanie was working. And as he came up one day, the first day really with the cows up here, this was communal grounds where all the people from the village used to bring their cows. And this belonged to everyone, so they could leave their cows on these mountains, and everyone would share this. So he came up and met Melanie. She was also born in Corps, but she had never known Maximum because she was always out, like we're saying,
That's right, she was never
And there was really 4 years difference. So they met, they spent a day together, and they said, well, if you want to, Maximum told Melanie, why don't we spend tomorrow together, the 19th of September.
And how old was he?
He was 11 years old.
11.
So he came up the 19th. She came up with her cows, and they met here and spent the day together. And after lunch, which was really a bit of bread and a bit of cheese, and some of the water coming down from the stream, they felt they had to take a nap. This is the first time they really felt they had to take a nap, in their long lives. So they both slept, and when they woke up, well, Melanie, who was always, had always been working with cows, says, where are the cows? So as they were down there in a ravine, well, Melanie and Maximum came up to where the tire starts, more or less. And as they looked down, they looked up and saw the cows were grazing on the Gagas, which is the big mountain in front of us. And then they looked down again, and behold, a ball of fire.
The globe grew larger and larger before their eyes. Melanie was mesmerized by the dazzling light. She dropped the stick which she used to keep the cows in line. Both children wanted to run, but their legs were like lead. They couldn't move. The globe opened. They were able to make out the figure of a woman inside. She was brighter than the sphere, if that was possible. She was seated as if on a rock. Her face was covered by her hands. Her shoulders heaved. She was weeping. The two looked at each other, but did not move.
They would say later, the children, we were drinking her words. She wept all the time she spoke to us. Come near, my children. Be not afraid.
I am here to tell you great news.
If my people will not submit, I shall be forced to let fall the arm of my son. It is so strong, so heavy, that I can no longer withhold it.
For how long a time do I suffer for you? If I would not have my son abandon you, I am compelled to pray to him without ceasing. And as to you, you take no heed of it.
However much you pray, however much you do, you will never recompense the pains that I have taken for you.
6 days I have given you labor. The 7th I have kept for myself, and they will not give it to me. It is this which makes the arm of my son so heavy.
Those who drive the carts cannot swear without introducing the name of my son. These are the two things which make the arm of my son so heavy.
Though if the harvest is spoilt, it is all on your account. I gave you warning last year with the potatoes, but you did not heed it. On the contrary, when you found the potatoes spoiled, you swore. You took the name of my son in vain. They will continue to decay, so that by Christmas there will be none left.
Ah, my children, if you have wheat, it is no good to sow it. All you sow, the insects will eat, and what comes up will fall into the dust when you thresh it. There will come a great famine.
Before the famine comes, the children under 7 years of age will be seized with trembling and will die in the hands of those who hold them. The others will do penance by the famine.
The walnuts will become bad and the grapes will rot. But if they are converted, the stones and rocks will change into mounds of wheat, and the potatoes will be self-sown in the land.
Do you say your prayers well, my children? She asked the shepherds. Ah, both answered with complete frankness. Not very well, madame.
Ah, my children, she exhorted them, you must be sure to say them well morning and evening. When you cannot do better, say at least an Our Father and a Hail Mary. But when you have time, say more.
There are none who go to Mass except a few aged women. The rest work on Sunday all summer. Then in the winter, when they know not what to do, they go to Mass only to mock at religion.
During Lent, they go to the meat markets like dogs. Have you never seen wheat that is spoiled, my children? The beautiful lady then asked him. No, madame, they replied.
But you, my child, she insisted, addressing the little boy in particular, you must surely have seen some once when you were at the farm of Coin with your father. Coin was a hamlet near the town of Kor.
The owner of the field told your father to go and see his ruined wheat. You went together. You took 2 or 3 ears of wheat into your hands and rubbed them until they fell into dust. Then you continued home. When you were still half-hour's distance from Kor, your father gave you a piece of bread and said to you, Here, my child, eat some bread this year at least. I don't know who will eat any next year if the wheat goes on like that.
Confronted with such precise details, Maximum eagerly replied, "Oh yes, madame, I remember now. Just at this moment, I did not remember." At one point, when Our Lady was speaking to the children, she spoke in French. And when she said potatoes, she used the French expression. And the children did not understand, so they turned to one another. And Melanie turned to Maximum to ask for an explanation. But the beautiful lady forestalled her with these words that we ask you today. "Ah, my children, you do not understand? Well, wait. I shall say it otherwise." To me, that's a very important message from our Blessed Mother. My children, you do not understand? Well, wait. I shall say it otherwise. And she has been saying it otherwise for many apparitions. Do we understand? Will she give us another chance? Then the lady, again speaking French as at the beginning of her discourse, and when giving the secrets, said to them, "Well, my children, you will make this known to all my people."
And then she turned slightly to her left, passed in front of the children, crossed the brook Sesia, stepping on stones, emerging from it, and when she was about 10 feet from the opposite bank, repeated her final request without turning around or stopping. "Well, my children, you will make this well known to all my people." These were her last words. She continued to move up the slopes. The children followed her. She glided along the ground without so much as bending a blade of grass. Then she was raised into the air. As she looked up to heaven, the children noticed for the first time that she was not weeping. She looked off into the distance one more time. The globe which surrounded her glowed brighter than ever. She began to fade. The light remained for a short time, and then it faded. She was gone. This was the shortest apparition of Our Lady that we're aware of, but she established a pattern here that she would continue to use again in Fatima. She begins with a doomsday prophecy. In the instance of La Salette, Our Lady made reference to the great potato famine that plagued Ireland in 1845 and had reached disaster proportions by 1846. She also predicted future famine, plagues, and suffering for France. These were all predictions of things to come which did in fact occur. Close to 1 million people died as a result of a wheat shortage in Europe. The grapes of France were destroyed by a pestilence. Children did indeed die in their mother's arms. But it didn't have to happen. She gave us a way out. If they are converted, the stones and rocks will be changed into heaps of wheat, and potatoes will sow themselves.
And what has our mother been saying to us in this time? Pray and fast, convert. Has she not been saying, and does she need to, that we are in dire days? We can see famine covering the earth with the millions of children and people who die of starvation, the millions of unborn who die at the hands of their own mothers. We can see the devastation that is covering the earth, the plague of AIDS, the plague of sin that is covering the earth. Is our mother not saying today, this need not be?